The sound of my lawnmower stopped, abruptly as I noticed a white envelope pinned to my fence. It wasn't a regular envelope. It had the HOA's official seal. I sighed, wiping the sweat off my forehead. "What now?" I muttered, ripping it open. "Dear Mr. Thompson, your fence exceeds the neighborhood height limit by 6 inches. Please correct this violation within 10 days or face a $500 fine. HOA Compliance Officer Karen L. Simmons." My jaw dropped. 6 inches? My fence was exactly what the HOA approved last year. I looked across the street. There she was. Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood, watering her flowers in a spotless white tracksuit. She glanced up and smirked. "Morning," she shouted, waving her clipboard like a badge of authority. "Morning," I replied, forcing a smile. "Did you happen to measure my fence yourself?" "Of course," she said proudly. "Someone's got to keep this community in shape." Her tone made my blood boil. She wasn't just enforcing rules, she was enjoying it. That night I pulled out my original fence permit, stamped and signed by the HOA. The approved height, 6 feet, exactly what I built. Something didn't add up. The next day I visited the HOA office. The clerk, a tired-looking man named Dan, checked the records. Your permit looks fine," he said. "No violations on file." "Then why the letter?" I asked. He hesitated. "Karen's been overstepping lately. She's filed 5 complaints this month." When I got home, Karen was snapping photos of my fence with her phone. "Karen!" I called out. "You can't just trespass on my property." "I'm documenting violations," she said smugly. "You'll thank me when the neighborhood looks perfect." That's when I noticed something odd. Her backyard fence looked taller than mine. "Karen," I said slowly, "how tall is your fence?" She frowned. "Standard height, HOA approved." "Mind if I measure it?" "Absolutely not. That's private property." Her sudden defensiveness said it all. That night I grabbed my tape, measured and quietly walked around the side street where her fence extended to the sidewalk. I pressed the metal tape against the wood, and my eyes widened. 7.5 feet. Karen's fence wasn't just tall, it was illegal. As I stood there under the porch light, I realized something. This wasn't about a fence. It was about control. And Karen was about to lose it. I woke up with one goal: prove Karen's fence was illegal. I started by snapping my own photos, clear shots, showing the height of her fence from the sidewalk. Then I used a level app on my phone to confirm the exact measurement. 7.5 feet without a doubt. I printed the pictures, attached my original HOA-approved permit, and marched into the HOA office. Dan looked up from his desk and sighed when he saw me. "Let me guess. Karen again?" "Right on target," I said, placing the photos on his desk. "She filed a complaint against my fence, said it was too tall. But take a look at hers." Dan's eyes widened. "Oh, this isn't good. HOA policy caps fences at 6 feet. This is clearly over." "So," I said, folding my arms, "you'll issue her a violation, right?" He hesitated. "I can't do that without board approval. But I'll bring it up in the next meeting." That was in 5 days. 5 long days. During that week, Karen was relentless. She left printed HOA rule sheets taped to my mailbox, sent me emails about community standards, and even yelled across the street. "Rules are rules, Mark. Don't take it personally." Every word made me want to tear down her hypocrisy plank by plank. By day 4, I decided I wasn't waiting anymore. I reached out to John, my neighbor, a retired construction inspector. "John, can you do me a favor? Measure Karen's fence officially?" He grinned, gladly. She yelled at my wife for having a pink mailbox. That evening, John came with his measuring tools. He made it look professional. Clipboard, laser measure, and everything. Karen saw him from her window and stormed out. "What do you think you're doing on my property?" she shouted. John smiled calmly. "Ma'am, just verifying structure height from the public easement line." "Get off my lawn!" she screeched. By then, a few curious neighbors peeked out their doors. The neighborhood gossip train had left the station. John whispered to me later. "It's 7.6 feet at the highest point. She's cooked." The next day, I brought his signed measurement report to Dan. His eyes lit up. "Perfect timing, HOA meetings tonight. You should come." That night, under the warm glow of the community hall lights, I walked into the HOA meeting. Karen was already there, sitting at the front like she owned the place, a stack of papers in front of her. She smirked when she saw me. "Oh, Mr. Thompson, here to appeal your violation?" I smiled back. "No, Karen, I'm here to talk about yours." Her smile vanished. The HOA meeting room buzzed with low chatter. Folding chairs lined the walls, the smell of coffee and paper filling the air. Karen sat at the head table beside 3 other board members, tapping her pen impatiently. Dan, the HOA clerk, gave me a subtle nod as I walked in. "You're up next on the agenda," he whispered. Karen cleared her throat and started. "First order of business, and Mr. Thompson's fence violation." I stood holding a folder thick with evidence. "Actually," I interrupted, "before we discuss my fence, I'd like to bring up a more serious violation, one that concerns Mrs. Simmons' own property." Karen blinked, caught off guard. "Excuse me?" "Your fence, Karen," I said firmly. "It's over 7.5 feet tall. That's a clear violation of HOA Section 5.2. Gasps rippled through the room. Karen forced a laugh. "That's ridiculous. My fence was approved years ago." "Not according to the records," I replied, holding up photos, John's signed report, and the HOA's official height cap. I double-checked with the county inspector. No variance was ever filed. Dan stood and confirmed, "He's right. There's no permit for any fence above 6 feet on your lot, Mrs. Simmons." Karen's smile wavered. That's impossible. I measured it myself." One of the board members leaned forward. "Karen, you've fined multiple residents for lesser issues this year. If your fence is out of compliance, we can't ignore that." The room went silent. Karen's face turned red. "This is a witch hunt. He's just angry because he got cited." I crossed my arms. "No, I'm just tired of double standards. You enforce rules for everyone else but think you're above them." Whispers spread among the neighbors sitting in the back. One woman muttered, "She fined me for leaving my trash cans out for 2 hours. Another said, "And she said my lawn gnome violated aesthetics." Karen snapped, "This is harassment. I'll appeal." Dan calmly replied, "You can appeal, but the board will have to vote on temporary suspension of your compliance authority until the matter's resolved." That word, suspension, hit her like a punch. She slammed her pen on the table. "You can't suspend me. I run this HOA." "No," said one of the board members, standing up. "You don't. You serve it, like the rest of us." Karen's glare could have melted steel. "This isn't over," she hissed, gathering her papers and storming out of the room. I exhaled, the tension in my chest easing for the first time in weeks. The room broke into quiet applause. But as I walked back to my car that night, I saw Karen standing near my driveway, her arms crossed, eyes cold and furious. She mouthed one word: "Payback." And I knew the war wasn't over yet. Few days, the neighborhood felt tense. People whispered on sidewalks. Emails from the HOA went silent, and Karen's white SUV was parked crooked in her driveway every night, as if she barely slept. I tried to move on, fixed my garden lights, cleaned my porch, and hoped the HOA board would handle her fence violation quietly. But Karen didn't do quiet. On Friday morning, I woke up to find a fresh letter taped to my door. "Your garbage bins were visible from the street overnight. Fine, $150. HOA interim enforcement." I stared at the paper, stunned. She wasn't even supposed to be issuing fines anymore. I called Dan immediately. "She's at it again," I said. He sighed. "We warned her not to. She's violating suspension terms. So what happens now?" "We might have to report her conduct to the county zoning office. She's crossed a line." That gave me an idea. That afternoon, I visited the county property department, bringing every document I had, photos, measurement reports, her complaint letters, everything. The inspector there, a calm man named Luis, reviewed the folder and frowned. "She modified that fence without a construction permit," he said. "That's not just an HOA issue. It's a code violation. And her property line encroaches 6 inches onto public land." My eyebrows shot up. "Meaning?" "Meaning," he said, smirking slightly, "she'll be getting an official notice from the county. And if she doesn't fix it, she could face fines or removal orders." 2 days later, I heard the sound of heavy boots and official voices outside. I peeked through my blinds. 2 county inspectors were at Karen's door. She stood there in her robe, arguing furiously while one of them pointed to the fence. Half the neighborhood came out to watch. "She's saying her fence is grandfathered in," someone whispered. "Nope," said another. "County says it's illegal." By sunset, the county crew had marked her fence with bright orange tags. "Remove within 14 days. Non-compliant structure." Karen was livid. She stomped across the street, shouting, "You did this! You went behind my back!" I calmly replied, "No. Karen, I just followed the rules, like you always said we should." Her face went pale. She wanted to scream but couldn't find the words. For once, she was speechless. A week later, her fence came down piece by piece. Neighbors watched quietly as the sound of drills and hammering filled the air. The mighty HOA enforcer had been brought down by her own hypocrisy. At the next HOA meeting, Karen didn't show up. Dan announced her resignation, effective immediately. The room erupted in applause. I leaned back, smiling. My fence still stood tall, 6 feet of justice. And as I looked across the street at Karen's empty yard, I thought to myself, funny how rules only matter to some people until they apply to them.